Hi guys, you're here with me, Jen the Taxidermy Witch, and we are doing such a special episode. So I'm flipping through my books and figuring out a really cool, quick video I could make out of the 2 witch encyclopedias I have. And lo and behold, in both of them, there's a tribute to Scott Cunningham. So, yes, we are doing a tribute to Scott Cunningham. If you watch any of my videos, or if you have watched at least one of the last 10 videos in any of my sequences, you will get an herbal video coming from a lot of these books plus some others. But here I have all my Scott Cunningham books that I refer to for color magic, for advice on Sabbats, in witchcraft. I'm going to show you guys all of these books I have of Scotty's. I call him Scotty because he is like my father of witchcraft. Like, I'm going to play a song from this at the end for you because I don't want to cry. So I'm going to play it right at the end and then say goodbye before I cry. But the first song on this album, Box of Rain, one of the band members, not Jerry Garcia, I think it's one of the other band members, wrote this song, not the one that's playing, but Box of Rain for his dad when he was dying. And if you listen to the lyrics, and you should, maybe I can find a way to link the lyrics, they're absolutely divine. So, to you, Scott Cunningham, I dedicate that song to you from me because you are like my father of witchcraft. You are like my father in that way, of all these beautiful teachings. So, let's just say that I want to tell you what books of his I have in no particular order, just from smallest to biggest of this tower, okay? Oh, let me show you a picture of Scotty first. And here it says, "We love you, Scotty." And I have my mink skull here. It's really special to me. I put it out a lot. But whenever I try and channel Scott Cunningham, I always use this. I don't know why. Just intuition, I guess. So here's a picture of our friend Scott Cunningham. He is a handsome man. He really is. And, oh, I'm also going to link, and I'll have to rewatch this video so I know what to link, but I'm also going to link his videos on how to make tinctures, and there's some YouTube, like, videos that he did, like, it's him, and it's in the 80s or 90s. They're flipping radical, you guys. They're so ace. They're so prime. They're so perfect. They're so Scotty. So, the books that I have, in order from smallest to largest. Here, we have The Truth About Witchcraft by Scott Cunningham. It is not big at all. See how big my hand is? It's as big as your hand. Also, look how skinny it is. What is there like? Oh yeah, 55 pages. And it's that big and it's 55 pages. So think, if it was a regular sized book, it would be like 15 pages. So this is a book you can read in a day and get the whole grasp of witchcraft. That's my short book review on it, okay? Hope you enjoyed. My second newest book by Scotty, which I just got about 2 weeks ago, but I've been flipping through it with you guys, and it is Magical Herbalism. Look how beautiful that is. Look at that gorgeous lady on the cover. I love the art on the front. Who did that, I wonder? But it's great, you know? It gives you all kinds of different information that you sometimes don't get in these 2 books. And this is sometimes what I call my, herbal Bible, if you will. And it's the encyclopedia for magical herbs. And if you have nothing else and you're an herbal witch, this is always what I suggest for herbal witchcraft if you have nothing else. second to that, and this is when you ingest it, is Wicca in the Kitchen, which I'm always talking about in my herbal videos. And you will find lore in this book, which I love. You will find magical uses, the properties of when you eat it, when you ingest it, really magic in the kitchen when you're actually eating it. This is my newest one, and I've just flipped through it barely, but I want to get into it as soon as we get through some of these Sabbats that are coming up. And it's the complete book of incense, oils, and brews. From here on out, I've been using Lady Grave Dancer and a lot of other smaller YouTubers for my main inspiration for my oils. And I'll take inspiration from that and then make it my own with this book by Scott Cunningham, because he lists in order all of the protection herbs, all of the love herbs, all of the hex breaking herbs, all of the you know, books, herbs for psychic abilities, herbs for mental powers, you know. So between those videos that I mentioned before and that green book, the Encyclopedia for Herbs, I've been doing that on its own to make my own oils. But now I get to get Scott Cunningham's recipes, which I'm so overjoyed about. I've just got so much else going on, but I've got it, and now I can look things up in it. Also, some staples in this, well, no, some staples when you're getting into this, and also this will talk a lot about color magic. My channel's on Witchcraft. I'm a witch, and I'm an eclectic witch, green. I practice witchcraft, and I have many deities. But Scott Cunningham is a Wiccan, so he makes this book, Wicca, a guide for the solitary practitioner. And then there's a second book, it's purple and black, or purple and gray, I believe. And it's called, you guys tell me what it's called. I know you guys will know exactly what I'm talking about. It's the sequel to this. But if you see this and this, these are the same book, you guys. This is just the old school version. I happen to have two, and if you're one of my close friends and you need a copy, I'll send you this older copy. They're exactly the same. Or I'll send you the newer one. You get whichever one you want. Just let me know, though, if you don't have it. Because sharing is such a beautiful thing, and Scotty's such a beautiful person, and I always want to share what he's all about. And I feel he's all about love and doing things in the nicest light of the craft. So, first we're going to just read from this one because the picture came from this one and it's on top. Encyclopedia of Witchcraft and Wicca, 2nd edition by Raven G. And here we go. Scott Cunningham, 1956 to 1993, was a Wiccan and popular author from more than 15 books on Wicca and related interests. He was a key individual in the opening of Wicca to solitary practice, making a great deal of information available to those seeking the craft. His teachings focused on encouraging people to employ whatever worked for them in their spiritual, religious, magical, and ritual practices. And that's what I love about him so much, is that he's always encouraging whatever you want to practice, you doing that on your own. I'm looking for my water in a panic. I guess it's somewhere in the kitchen, perhaps. We'll get through it. Okay. So, Cunningham was a fine herbalist and produced several books dealing with herbs, including Magical Herbalism and Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs. I showed you both of those. His books on Wicca led to a steady rise in Scott's popularity, and he became one of the most well-known Wiccan authors of his time. His prominence was instrumental in influencing the changes that took place in the Wiccan movement during the 1980s. Due to his influence, the Wiccan religion shifted primarily from the hands of initiates to the public arena, and many eclectic traditions were formed as a result. Cunningham, although essentially a self-styled Wiccan, was initiated into several established craft traditions. In 1980, he was initiated into the Aradian tradition and undertook a study of witchcraft and magic from Raven G, the person who wrote this book. Scott was also initiated into two other traditions in 1981. The recognized traditional Gwendolinic order of Wicca and the ancient Pictish Gaelic tradition. Additionally, Cunningham was an initiate of American traditionalist Wicca. Sales of his most successful book, Wicca, A Guide for the Solitary Practitioner, which I showed you, 2 copies of that, reached the 500,000 mark in 2003. The sudden onset of health issues began to impede Cunningham's author appearances and later his writings in 1983, Scott was diagnosed with lymphoma, a form of cancer, and then in 1990 he contracted cryptococcal meningitis. Cunningham's health continued to decline as he suffered the opportunistic infections related to his primary disease. On March 28, 1993, Scott crossed from this world into the next. So that's a really special day to celebrate when you love someone who's passed, is the day that they passed, because it's the day that everything came full circle, in a sense. My family's close to an author named Rumi, a poet, and in Hinduism, I believe, but in particular, my brother started the tradition where we started having a Rumi Day on December 17th, the day that he died, the day that his life came full circle. So that's a really beautiful day to celebrate something. And so March 28th, and it was 1993, but March 28th every year is a really great day to have on your calendar. And it doesn't mention his day of birth in here, but hopefully it will in the next one. So let's just take another look at this picture of Scotty. Look how light and happy he looks. Just beautiful and amazing. Okay. Okay. Scott Cunningham, 1956 to 1993. Best known for his books on herbs and later on Wicca, Scott Cunningham was... I'm sorry, let me just say that this is the book we're reading from, and it's Raymond Buckland. Scott Cunningham was born in Royal Oak, Michigan on, here we go, June 27th, 1956. So the day of his birth, June 27th, and the day of his death, we just mentioned it, I'll say it again, March 28th, okay? He was the son of prolific author Chester, or Chet, Cunningham, and his wife Rose. Scott's great-great-grandmother, Abby Pointer, was described as a very superstitious woman who believed implicitly the signs of the moon. Oh, Abby. And planted her garden by those signs. His paternal grandmother, Emmy, read tea leaves. There's just too many things, you guys. You'll never run out of things to do in witchcraft. Ever. Ever. You'll learn your whole life. And you'll still have more to learn, you know? So beautiful. Okay. The Cunningham family moved to San Diego when Scott was 4 years old, and he grew up there with his brother Greg and sister Christine. When he was 15, he looked through a book with his mother, or that his mother had bought, The Supernatural by Douglas Hill and Pat Williams. Hawthorne Books, 1965, and became fascinated with the illustrations and articles, especially those dealing with witchcraft. That evening, he watched the movie Burn, Witch, Burn on television. The following day at school, Cunningham, see how all these things are lining up and they're showing him? His guides are showing him, in my opinion. Where am I? The next day at school. The following day at school, Cunningham met fellow student Dorothy Jones, who was to become his magical teacher and to initiate him into her version of the craft. She told him that she had been initiated 2 years earlier at the age of 13. Her craft name was Morgan. Cunningham's journal entries at the time state that this form of Wicca, unlike most others today, had no specific name and had but one degree and one initiation. Yet years later, in 1982, he wrote that it was called American Traditionalist. The Standing Stones tradition does not claim to be an ancient order. It was begun in 1971 by Morgan, a moon priestess. In 1974, Cunningham enrolled at San Diego State University and studied creative writing. Within 2 years, he had more writing credits than many of his professors, and shortly thereafter he dropped out. His interest in herbs and their properties grew, and he quickly became an expert on the subject, writing a book called A Witch's Herbal. I gotta get that book. Is that his first book? It sounds like 1974. It was rejected by a number of publishers. Now I really want to get it if there's any print of it. Rejected by many publishers. Where are we here? It was rejected by many publishers before being accepted at Lewin Publications, love Lewin, and published in 1982 under the title Magical Herbalism, which is this book that I showed you in the beginning. Magical Herbalism. Okay, so apparently this is his first book revised. And it went on to become a classic on the subject. Cunningham followed up with Earth Power 1983, which I have somewhere in storage from long ago, before I even knew which Witchcraft was. It was my sister-in-law's book. But I don't have it now. I should get it. I'm never going to get in that storage space. So Earth Power was next, 1983. And then Encyclopedia for Magical Herbs, what I call my herbal Bible, is this one, which came out in 1985. So these are in order of appearance, okay? And then, both published by Lewin. 2 years later, he published The Magic of Incense, Oils, and Brews. In the 1980s, Cunningham visited Hawaii and fell in love with it. He went there as often as he could until the end of his life, visiting the volcano Kilauea and dropping tributes of flowers into the crater, reverencing the goddess Pele. He developed a great interest in kahana, the Hawaiian culture, and magical practices. Oh, I want to look into that too someday. That's so awesome. His Hawaiian religion and magic was published posthumously in 1994, so that must mean after he died. I don't know that word. In 1987, with Lewin's backing, Cunningham and his friend DeTracy Regula made a 1-hour videotape titled Herb Magic. That must be the one that I'm trying to connect, the one that is on YouTube for free, I think must be. Much of it was a shot at the Taylor Herb Farms in Vista, California, and despite many obstacles along the way, was a success. In 1988, Cunningham produced Wicca, a guide for the solitary practitioner. Which was initially greeted with some disquiet by witches who had been through coven initiations and practiced only in groups. The book, interesting, where it's kind of like the opposite these days. We're way more solitary these days, from what I know. Yeah. People in general are more solitary these days with phones and technology and whatnot. So, it's just my thought on it. What do you guys think? The book reflected the author's thoughts on self-initiation and presented in Buckland's Complete Guide of Witchcraft. Which is a different book. Buckland's. Different book. Big blue book with silver writing. In 1986, and Cunningham said that he felt that helped his cause. In recent years, Cunningham's book has done extremely well, becoming one of Lewin's top sellers. In early 1990, while on a lecture tour, Cunningham was rushed to a hospital and diagnosed with cryptococcygeal meningitis. He never fully recovered, and although he returned home and went back to writing, his health steadily deteriorated. So anything written after 1990, you guys, was precious. He was trying to get that word out as desperately as he could. So I'm going to look into that as well. What was published post-1990, post his cancer diagnosis, you know, because that's really precious. It's his last strength to get a message out to us. On this plane. Keeping it together. Whew, yeah. Okay. He never fully recovered, and although he returned home, there were many books he wanted to write, and several he did manage to finish, including Hawaiian Magic. We're getting that, you guys. I'm getting it for us. Written after he returned to his parents' home in January 1993. So awesome he went to his parents' house. That's what I would do. He died there on March 28th, 1993. And that's it. Now we're going to listen to Box of Rain. And we're going to end this video. You tell me what you guys like about Scott Cunningham, okay? And also tell me what you like about these books, but not in this one. Tell me in this video what you like about Scott Cunningham. Okay. This is Box of Rain. I'm going to let it play for just a little bit, okay? I'm going to do a little bit of dancing, and you should really look into the lyrics because they're so beautiful, okay? So beautiful. We love you, Scotty. That's what this says. Thanks for doing this with me, you guys. Scott Cunningham is so precious to me, and I know that he's becoming that to you guys too. Have a beautiful day. Bye.